Okay, guys, you may see we are joined by Tim. It's been a while, Tim, but an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming back on the channel.
Always a pleasure, mate. It has been a while, hasn't it? Too long.
Yeah. Brilliant. So what we're going to do, we were thinking of, well, we're going to grade all six nations on how well they've done so far. So on this video, we're going to look at England, Scotland and Italy, and then the other three on Tim's channel, Eggchasers Rugby. If you haven't subscribed, then, I mean, what are you doing? He's a fantastic journalist. Get over there, subscribe. Great videos. So in combination, we're going to be reviewing all six teams, giving them an old school grade, kind of A to E sort of thing, A plus, minuses, all that sort of thing. But before we start that, we've had literally a squad update, Tim, from England. Some good, some bad. Which is worse? Alex Mitchell dropping out or Ollie Lawrence coming in, being better?
Yeah, I feel harsh saying this for Alex Mitchell. I think it's a net positive. I think Ollie Lawrence is that much of a difference maker, and the drop off from him to the next person that can do that job is greater than the drop off at scrum half. So we've got Harry Randall's come in at scrum half. I don't expect him to be involved in the matchday squad. He'll just be there or thereabouts, but it'll be Ben Spencer and Danny Kerr. I'm quite happy with that. Ollie Lawrence, though, I think this is the guy, isn't it, to take the midfield through to the next World Cup?
Well, you'd think so. He surely would have been in the 23, if not starting, if he'd been fit. But now England are in this bind, aren't they, where they've had this settled partnership. They've had Mitchell at 9, they've had Dingwall and Slade, and now what do? They're going to have to play a new 9. Do they throw both centres out? Do they throw one out? Do they keep them? It's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
It is, and I cannot work out where Steve Borthwick is going to go. Like you say, I could imagine it being Tuilagi Lawrence. I could equally see Lawrence, Slade, or Dingwall Lawrence. I think Lawrence will be involved, you would imagine. The other one is the other interesting part is the fact that, well, the thing that jumped out to me is the fact that the player that's dropped out of the squad with Ollie Lawrence returning was Will Muir on the wing. Which
yes.
And I piece a few things together where Will Muir's a winger and he's dropped him out. I think that means Steve Borthwick just does not fancy Will Muir at all, because I don't understand why else you would drop a winger for a centre. And also, he's hardly played Emmanuel Faye-Waboso on the wing. So I think, do you remember how Steve Borthwick and Eddie Jones before would only play certain players for a couple of minutes here and there? They just don't trust them. I think there's an issue with trust on the wings as well.
Yeah. I mean, he trusts Daly, doesn't he? Daly's been doing the job. I mean, let's get on to this grading for England. Like, some of their players have been performing. Like, even though I'm not sure Elliot Daly has the out and out pace at the top level, he's been doing what he's been told to do, hasn't he? And quite a lot of players have been doing their jobs. Anyone particularly impressed you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of workmanlike, competent jobs being done. Elliot Daly would be one example. Tommy Freeman has had flashes of excellence that you can feel he could do something different. And you have to say that there are guys that get a bit of stick, actually. Elliot Daly would be one of them. I think he's looked decent. I think one of the reasons he gets a bit of stick is because he's symptomatic. People look at him as symptomatic of the type of rugby that Steve Borthwick is playing, not actually about the individual. And I think Freddie Stewart actually in the last game looked really good. And he's another player that gets a little bit of stick. I don't know what people were expecting of England. They've won 2 games. They were very effective at the World Cup without being very exciting. And I know that people want that to move on. And I think that's the objective, but it's going to be bit by bit. The defence is coming together quicker than the attack, but that tends to be how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they've been a bit hamstrung. I mean, they're 2 wins from 2, so their grade's got to be decent, hasn't it? I think if Steve Borthwick had the full deck to pick from, we could have seen some slightly more exciting attack. I think that's certainly possible. But it does seem a very slow drip. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But they've got this settled team, this rush defence. So my take on it is it's worth sticking with, 100%. Felix Jones, it worked great with South Africa. The bit that's just niggling away at me is that they're doing it with players. Can these players do it that he's doing it with right now? Because, I mean, question for you, Tim. With South Africa, you had Pollard, Deolande, Mapimpi, Colby all rushing up. And we're trying to do the same thing with Ford, Dingwall, Slade, Daly say, are we just pushing it too much? Can these players handle that?
Possibly. I look at the England defence, much like South Africa, and actually, interestingly, with them playing Scotland, the defence worked amazingly against Finn Russell. Just shut him down in that game in Marseille in that first weekend of the World Cup. It clearly England are going, go on then, take the outside if you want. Have a go. Look at all that lovely space out there. Go on, why don't you pass the ball there? Because they're backing themselves to 7, 8 times out of 10 to shut the opposition down, and it's a high risk, high reward strategy.
That's funny. I literally just wrote that: high risk, high reward. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't mind it. I think the players at international level in the top tier teams, whoever England pick, will be able to do that job. I know exactly what you mean about the real important decisions and the speed of thought, and as well as the speed of movement of guys like Arendse and Colby that just nailed it. And I think coming back to Will Muir, Faye Waboso, I think the high risk, high reward strategy is why we've hardly seen Faye Waboso play, and why Will Muir's been dropped out, and why he will just continue until other players are available to pick Daly, Freeman, and just those select few that he thinks can do the job.
Yeah, it's a tricky system, like you say, to drop new players straight into, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so high risk,
100%.
high reward. When it's worked, it's pushed teams back. I mean, it's pushed Wales back in that last game, but when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. And like Italy picked them apart pretty nastily a couple of times as well. So it's a tricky one how you'd grade it, but worth sticking with. Any other parts of the England game you would say are net positives, Tim?
I'm pleased with 2 wins, and I don't want to be negative. I'm trying to be really positive, but I think probably just a little underwhelmed. I expected more of a kick on from the World Cup than we've seen, but I think we've seen glimpses of an intent to try and go. And so, if anything, I would say that the net positives have been a slight mindset shift, which I think can be turned up a couple of gears.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm hoping to see that.
That's literally exactly what I wrote. The high risk, high reward on the defense, and then there is intent. The intent's there. I don't know. You know, I do think that Steve Borthwick would have picked a slightly different team if he'd had George Martin fit, if he'd had Ollie Lawrence fit, if he'd had Marcus Smith fit. So I think I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see how it evolves. Set piece, you been happy with that, Tim?
Yeah, you can't really complain about that. What I think it's an interesting thing going on where the 2 guys that were so good in the World Cup semi-final, in Dan Cole and Joe Marler, he has kept one of them on the bench, one of them in the starting team. I think that's deliberate to try and spread the solid scrum across the 80 minutes.
Yeah,
I think that might be what he's doing. But yeah, no complaints on that, and it's only going to get made better by as is the defence, and as is just general play by George Martin coming back that you already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of expect him to jump straight into the 23 somewhere if he is fit.
I think into the starting team.
Starting team, tight head lock.
Him or Chesham on the flank.
Okay, yeah, I had him in and 6 in my selection. Grade, what are you thinking? I've got mine written down. Let's see what you reckon.
My grade, and interestingly, one of the reasons we're doing these grades, by the way, is because Rich is, and I was, a teacher. So have you just had half term, or you on your last day before you go back?
That's
yeah,
it.
So there we go.
Got it.
Bit more marking to do. I would go England C.
I put B minus. So
yeah, I was thinking C plus.
Okay, we're on the same sort of page there. B minus C plus sort of thing. Maybe we'll go C plus, something like that. Okay.
All right.
Let's jump on to Scotland then. Scotland. Okay. I love watching Scotland. I always bang on about how great Scotland are to watch, and we've seen it again. Brilliant tries. Both games, phenomenal play. And then in both games, they implode. Or something goes wrong. I can't quite put my finger on it. The best I've got at the moment is it something to do with the strange leadership between Russell and Darge as co-captains, which doesn't seem to make sense on either level. Is it that, or is it something else, or is it just bad luck? What do you reckon?
Well, there's definitely something going on, because in 2 games now we've seen them stop playing, almost not try to win. And good teams, great teams, when they've got an opponent on the ropes, they finish them off. They extinguish any chance of losing the match. And Scotland have not done that. And I don't know if it's just too much of a cliche to say it, but this is a team whose players are not used to being favourites for games. And I don't know if it's just that they're quite like the way that they play matches being an underdog. Yeah, go on, we're just going to have a go. When they find themselves out there in front, they seem to tense up. Maybe that's just experience of being in that position at this level, because this is one of the best Scottish teams for a while. But that said, they've won enough Test matches that I think they should be over that by now. So maybe it is the Russell Darge thing. I hadn't really considered that might be the case, but you might be on something there.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've been together for ages, so you think they'd be used to the pressure now. I mean, that run of penalties, I think against Wales was ridiculous, wasn't it? I mean, the analogy I put down here is that Finn Russell, for me, he's like that special forces operator. He's so elite. He's amazing. And if you ask a special forces operator, do you want to go on a mission? They're always going to say yes. Do you know what I mean? I want to go. Let's go. Whereas really you need someone removed, a commander, to say, hang on a minute, let's deploy you when it's most necessary, sort of thing. You know, but you're making the commander the special forces operator. That's kind of the way I'm thinking of it. And maybe it should have been maybe a Grant Gilchrist calling the shots. I don't know. It just seems a bit wrong to me, but maybe we'll be proved wrong.
Well, I do think, because you mentioned Rory Darge, and it was interesting that he was the co-captain, and one of them was doing the toss before the game, and one of them was doing the press conference after the game. So it's clearly split duties. But Rory Darge, just not only Scotland captain material, I just look at that guy being 100 capper, British and Irish Lion. He's a very, very special talent. So I think it might be good for Finn Russell as well as Scotland if that mantle was passed to Rory Darge. And
they're grooming him, aren't they?
100% they're grooming him, and I think he just feels like that kind of character. He's got that little Richie McCaw, not just because he's an open side flanker, but just that very level, consistent.
Yeah. He's going to be a 7 or 8 out of 10, isn't he, every game?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And yeah,
I mean, it seems maybe jumping the gun of me, but it feels like that psychological blow against France. Like they might have blown another Six Nations chance already, even though winning a Six Nations with 4 wins is perfectly doable. It just feels psychologically like they let it go. They had France and they let them go, which is why my grade is down. My grade's a C minus sort of thing.
Yeah, I've gone for a C as well. There is the context that they can feel hard done by, but they should never have been in a position where one officiating decision was going to win or lose in the game. A good team does not leave that to chance, and they definitely dropped the ball there. I agree with you, actually, Rich. I think that's going to be hard for them to get over because, like you say, small, tiny margins, and they would have backed themselves to be arriving in Dublin on that final day, playing for a Grand Slam in a showdown. We've all been robbed of that now, but I think psychologically that's going to be a real tough one to get over. The good thing for them is they don't need any help getting up for England. When England roll into town, it's
they know they can beat England. Yeah, they know they can beat England if they play well. They're playing Italy in the 4th round, and they absolutely could be on for the championship in the final round again. But like you said, it's just getting over that psychological blip, which kind of pulls their grade down, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. They are playing some great rugby, as you say. That has to be acknowledged, and they're a brilliant team to watch.
Yeah. Okay, last one on this video then, before we go over to Tim's channel. So please do check out both sides of this video. And before we do that, let's just mention the sponsor, Lifting Giants. You've heard of them before, I'm sure, but I've been introducing Tim to them. Reusable lifting blocks. Finally, someone's designed some actually to fit your hand. So if you want to get hold of some of those, RugbyAnalyst 10 is the code for the rest of the Six Nations. All the stuff in the description below. Had you come across them before, Tim?
I hadn't, but I coach my son's under-16 team, and I coach a university team as well. And like the amount of bits of foam that get carried around between matches as well. Like it's a great idea. I can't believe one of those. The best ideas are the ones you're like, oh,
yeah,
I can't believe
the simple ideas no one's done. Yeah, just launched before the World Cup. They were. So anyway, get hold of those if you want to. Right, finally on to Italy. So poor old Italy, and also a bit more news, I'm pretty sure this flashed up and I saw it. It's one of those things that you blink and you think, did I see that? Tommaso Allen, I think he's withdrawn himself. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, similar to Owen Farrell, actually. He just, I don't know exactly what, I can't remember exactly what he wrote, but it was just for his general well-being. It wasn't an injury. He's just decided he doesn't want to do it right now. So I hope he's okay, first and foremost. But I suppose that's the downside for Italy, and he's a big loss. Louis Liner is a booster.
There you are. There you go. Another one coming in. I mean, Tommaso Allen is interesting because every match report, I'm pretty sure I write something like, oh, they've moved him again, or he's on the bench this time, or they're trying him at 12 or something like that. And I wonder if part of it's to do with him being shunted around and not feeling like fully trusted, even though he has been a mainstay of their team.
Yeah, and he is, particularly the type of player he is something that Italy don't possess. That kind of metronomic, when you just need, if there was 20 minutes left and Italy did find themselves ahead, you would actually want Tommaso Allen on the field just to put him in the right parts of the pitch. You can imagine Paolo Garbisi would be the guy that might orchestrate a try that would get them in front. If there was 15, 20 minutes left, you would want that guy on the field. They don't have many people like him. So yeah, big loss.
Yeah, and would you put Lewis Liner straight in? I think I would, personally.
Yeah, I think I would. Although that's one area where they're actually quite good in the back three, though, aren't they? With Capowazzo and Pani, and he's got a great boot on him, that guy, and Ioane and Gacy. What's happened to Gacy? He's another really exciting, from an attacking point of view, winger. But no doubt, Louis Liner is going to improve their stock, and I think would probably be worth a starting berth.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say he was trying to break into the England side, didn't quite happen. He gave it some time and has just thought, okay, if I'm going to play international rugby, I need to make a move, and he's made it. So fair play to him. So their grade I found quite tricky because they've played some fantastic attacking rugby. Some of the handling is phenomenal. The interplay, you just say, like, watch this as a textbook on how to attack. But then also some parts of their game just look not good, simply not good enough. I mean, one-on-one tackling, they lack a bit of power up front in like second rows. Kicking game can be really subpar at times. So they're a weird one where they can look like in attack like they're absolutely in the frame, and then you look at other parts of their game and you're like, well, you're not going to compete.
Yeah, and it happened last year in the Six Nations, didn't it? They came within 4 points of beating France in the opening game, and they were 3 points behind, off England in the opening match this year, and then got absolutely panned, nilled by Ireland. And like you say, Ireland are going to beat a lot of international teams, and there's no shame in getting a few points put on you by Ireland, but yeah, there's no excuse for just missing one-on-one tackles at that level, and that hints to me at deeper issues for Italy. Like you say, it isn't just about individual skill levels. It's and then you see the Tommaso Allen thing as well, and I hope everything's good with Gonzalo Quesada. He seems to be more in tune with the team than Kieran Crowley was, certainly at the end of the World Cup. But they can blow hot and cold, and that means they can be like, in terms of grading, they can be an A and an E 1 week to the next.
Yeah, well, they need to, but they're always going to be, underdogs, but they need to be a clean team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And at the moment, they're a team that is making a lot of mistakes, and they're just not going to get close like that. So if they have a tidy game, I think they're going to be close. But at the moment, I put them a D-. What did you pop down as a grade?
Yeah, I popped down a D, so we're in the same
Okay.
in the same ballpark there. Giving them some credit for pushing England close, and giving them a little bit of mitigation because Ireland are Ireland. So
yeah,
can't be too harsh on them. But like you say, there's just consistency. That's absolutely the word. Or reliability. They just need to do those absolute non-negotiable fundamentals more often than they're currently managing.
100%. Well, I'm glad we're actually quite close in our grades. We hadn't colluded before, so we're obviously thinking roughly along the same lines. But guys, pop down below what your grades would be for the three nations we've covered there and why. And then get over to Tim's channel if you haven't already and check out the other nations. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you next time.